World of Words, Special Season, Night of the Threshold, Days of Light. Episode 1. Walpurgis Night, the Night of the Threshold. Welcome to the first episode of our Walpurgis Night and May Day special season. A journey through 3 thresholds, 3 movements of early spring light, 3 quiet ways in which the year opens itself again. Walpurgis Night arrives not with noise, but with a shift, a soft turning of the season, a warmth that rises gently, a night that carries both darkness and beginning. Across Europe, from the Harz Mountains to the Baltic shores, from the Irish hills to the Alpine valleys, this evening has long been a moment when people pause, look toward the horizon, and feel the year at its quiet turning point. It is a night shaped by fire, by gathering, by the soft movement from winter into spring. A night that holds the memory of old paths, old rituals, old gestures that have traveled through centuries and still speak in a quiet, steady voice. Walpurgis Night is not a spectacle, it is a threshold, a moment when the world leans toward warmth, toward growth, toward the first breath of early May. It is a night of transition, a night that stands between what has been and what is about to unfold. And so, in this episode, we open this word, Walpurgis Night, a word that carries fire, threshold, movement, and the soft promise of a night that leads into light. A word that invites you to step into a space where the world widens, where the air shifts, where something in you begins to open. Tonight we walk into this night together, quietly, gently, with presence. Chapter 1. Welcome to a new episode of World of Words, and to the first step into our spring threshold journey. Today we turn to a word that is not loud, not hurried, not demanding. Walpurgis Night. A word that sounds like a spark rising, like a path opening in the dusk, like a night that holds both depth and beginning. A word with 2 movements. Walpurgis, a name carried through centuries, a night of gathering, a moment of transition, a breath between seasons. It is a word shaped by old landscapes, by mountain paths, by village squares, by the quiet places where people once stood to watch the fire rise and the night open. It is a word that carries the memory of thresholds, the moment when winter loosens, when the earth softens, when the first warmth touches the air. Night, a space of stillness, a softening of the world, a quiet in which something begins to shift. Night is not an ending here, it is a beginning. A place where the world gathers itself, breathes, and prepares for the light that follows. And as this word, Walpurgis Night, echoes within you, a space begins to open. A space where the evening deepens, where the air carries a hint of warmth, where the year stands on the edge of change. Perhaps you feel a small movement within you, a readiness, a quiet curiosity, a sense that something is about to unfold. Walpurgis Night is a threshold, and thresholds are places where we pause, where we breathe, where we sense the world shifting around us. As you step into this chapter, you step into that threshold, a night that holds both the last breath of winter and the first breath of spring. A night that invites you to stand still for a moment, to feel the air, to sense the turning, to let the world open around you. Chapter 2: The Inner Scene. Perhaps something stirs in you when you think of this word, Walpurgis Night. A warmth that rises quietly, a movement that does not rush, a sense of standing between two seasons, two breaths, two ways of seeing the world. Walpurgis Night carries these in-between spaces. It is not a symbol of urgency, but of presence. A presence that widens gently, like dusk unfolding across a familiar landscape. Imagine standing in a quiet inner place, a place within you where the evening deepens without darkening, where the air holds a soft, early spring warmth, where something in you begins to open without effort. This inner landscape is not dramatic. It is not carved by strong contrasts. It is shaped by subtle movements, the kinds that still happen almost without being noticed. Perhaps you sense a shift in your breath, a softening in your shoulders, a widening in your chest, a feeling that the world has just a little more space than it had a moment ago. Walpurgis Night is such a space where winter loosens its hold, not by force, but by warmth. A space where spring does not arrive suddenly, but quietly, as a gentle readiness, a soft invitation. In this inner scene, you might imagine a small path before you. Not a road, not a trail, just a simple line in the landscape of your mind. It leads forward, but not far. It leads inward, but not deep. It leads to a place where you can pause, breathe, and feel the world turning around you. Perhaps you notice the air in this inner place, cool enough to remind you of the season behind you, warm enough to hint at the season ahead. This is the breath of Walpurgis Night, a breath that carries both memory and possibility. You stand here between two movements, the last quiet of winter and the first warmth of spring. Nothing demands your attention, nothing pulls you forward, nothing holds you back. You simply stand in this inner landscape and the night opens around you. Perhaps you feel a small glow within you, not a flame, not a spark, but a gentle warmth that rises from a place you cannot quite name. It is the warmth of readiness, the warmth of transition, the warmth of the threshold that invites you to step forward in your own time. Walpurgis Night is not a night of certainty. It is a night of openness, a night that allows you to feel the world as it shifts, softly, steadily, toward light. In this inner scene, you are not asked to decide, to act, to change. You are simply invited to be present, to feel the quiet movement of the season, to sense the widening of your own breath, to stand in a place where the world leans gently toward beginning. This is the inner landscape of Walpurgis Night, a landscape that opens not outward, but inward, where the first warmth of an early May touches something in you that is ready to rise. Chapter 3: The Outer Scene. Imagine an evening in late April. The air is cool, yet touched by the first warmth that rises from the ground after long months of stillness. The sky carries a soft, muted glow, a mixture of dusts and early spring light, as if the day were lingering just a little longer to watch what unfolds. You walk through a landscape that could belong to many places. A hillside in Germany, a coastal path in Ireland, a forest clearing in Sweden, a village edge in the Czech lands, a quiet field in France. The light is the same everywhere, gentle, unhurried, carrying the promise of a night that opens rather than closes. Trees stand with early buds, their branches still thin from winter's restraint, yet already holding the shape of what will come. The ground is soft, carrying the scent of thawed earth, of moss, of the first green shots that rise without sound. Birdsong lingers longer than it did weeks ago, a sign that the season is shifting its breath. The air carries a quiet expectancy, as if the world itself were preparing for the threshold of the night. You walk a little further. The path beneath your feet is uneven in places, but familiar. The kind of path that has been walked by many before you, each step adding to its quiet memory. In the distance you see a small gathering place, a clearing, a meadow, a rise in the land where people have stood for generations to greet this night. There is no rush, no noise, no spectacle, only presence. A few figures move slowly across the landscape, some carrying wood, some arranging stones, some simply standing still, watching the horizon as the last night of day softens into evening. The world feels wide here, not vast, not overwhelming, just wide enough to let your breath deepen, to let your thoughts settle, to let your senses open to the quiet movements of the season. Perhaps you notice the way the wind shifts, cooler in its shadows, warmer that the last sunlight touches the ground. It carries the scent of early spring herbs, of damp soil, of wood that will soon meet flame. You step closer to the gathering place. The stones are arranged in a careful circle, their shapes worn by weather and time. The wood is stacked with intention, not hurried, not careless, but with a quiet knowledge that fire is both a gesture and a companion. The evening deepens, shadows stretch. The sky moves from pale gold to soft blue with the first hint of night. And yet nothing feels heavy, nothing feels closed. Walpurgis Night is a night of openness, a night in which darkness does not press, but expands gently, making room for what is about to rise. You stand at the edge of this outer scene, and the world around you feels both familiar and new. Perhaps you sense that this night is not only a ritual, not only a tradition, but a way of meeting the turning of the year, a way of standing in the quiet space between seasons. The fire is not lit yet. The night is not fully here. The threshold is still opening, and you are part of it. A presence in the landscape, a witness to the turning, a quiet participant in the soft unfolding of Walpurgis Night. Chapter 4. The Word. Origin, Sound, Meaning. Walpurgis Night. A compound phrase, yet a single movement. A word shaped by centuries, carried through landscapes, spoken in many languages, yet holding one quiet gesture, the gesture of a threshold. Let us open this word in its two parts, its origin, its sound, its meaning, its quiet inner movement. Walpurgis. The name Walpurgis goes back to Saint Walpurga, an 8th century figure whose memory traveled through monasteries, villages, and early spring rituals. Her feast day fell on the 1st of May, and so the evening before, the night of gathering, the night of transition, came to carry her name. Over time, the word shifted from a personal name to a seasonal marker, a sign of the moment when winter loosens and spring rises. In many European languages, the name softened, changed by shape, took on local color. Walpurgis Nacht, Walbori, Wappu, Walpurgis Night. Each variation carries the same gesture, a night that stands between seasons, a night of warmth returning to the land, a night of fire meeting sky, a night of gathering at the edge of spring. Night. One of the oldest words in the English language, a word that traveled through centuries almost unchanged. Night is not darkness alone. It is a space, a breath, a softening of the world. In older English, night could mean a time of rest, a moment of inwardness, a place of quiet, a pause between movements. Night is not ending here. It is a beginning, a place where the world gathers itself before stepping into the next season. Together the phrase means the night of Walpurgis threshold, the evening that carries spring, the moment when winter releases its breath, the night that opens into light, the firelit turning of the year. It is a phrase that holds both history and presence, a phrase that does not command but invites, a phrase that sounds like a spark rising, like a hillside gathering, like a quiet breath taken at the edge of early May. The sound. Walpurgis Night moves in two rhythms. Walpurgis, a rising, stepping movement, 3 beats that feel like walking toward a fire. Night, a soft, steady landing, a single syllable that opens into space. Together the phrase widens gently, a movement from name to landscape, from history to presence, from sound to breath. The meaning. Walpurgis Night is not a single definition. It is a field of meanings, a quiet landscape in which several gestures coexist. Threshold, the moment between seasons. Warmth, the first breath of spring. Gathering, people meeting the turning of the year. Fire, a symbol of rising light. Night, a space of stillness and readiness. Movement, the soft shift toward May. It is a word that carries both the memory of old rituals and the quiet clarity of the present moment. A word that opens a space within you, a space where the world leans gently toward beginning. Chapter 5. Linguistic Miniatures. When we look at the phrase Walpurgis Night, we do not see a single meaning. We see a landscape, a field of quiet gestures, a set of small windows through which the season reveals itself. Each miniature is a soft movement, a subtle shift of meaning, a way in which English carries warmth, threshold, and early spring clarity. Let us open these windows, one by one. 5.1. Night as a threshold, a language of in-between. In Older English, to stand at nightfall meant to stand in a threshold, a moment between 2 breaths, 2 movements of the world. Walpurgis Night carries this threshold. It is not a night of ending, but of opening, a place where winter loosens and spring rises. It is the kind of night that makes you breathe differently. A little deeper, a little slower, as if the world were giving you a moment to arrive. 5.2. Night as stillness, a language of pause. Night soft was once a phrase for a quiet that settles gently, without weight, without pressure. Walpurgis Night holds such stillness, a stillness that does not silence but softens. a stillness that says, you may pause, there is time. It is a pause that carries warmth, a pause that widens, a pause that prepares the way for light. 5.3 Fire as warmth, a language of nearness. In many older dialects, to keep the fire meant to keep presence, to stay close, to share warmth, to hold a moment together. The fire of Walpurgis Night is such a presence. It is not a place of spectacle, but a quiet glow that gathers people into a circle of nearness. It is the warmth of early spring, a warmth that rises gently, that carries without burning, that invites without demanding. 5.4 Fire as clarity, a language of seeing. Clarity in English is not sharpness. It is visibility, the gentle revealing of form. The fire of Walpurgis Night reveals without exposing, shows without insisting. It is the clarity of a path becoming visible, not because it is bright, but because the world has grown soft enough to be seen. 5.5 Night as breath, a language of expansion. To take night in was once a poetic phrase for allowing oneself to widen, to let the world expand within you. Walpurgis Night is such a breath, a slow, steady expansion of the evening and of the self. It is the breath you did not know you were holding until the dusk opened it for you. 5.6 Night as memory, a language of returning. In some regions, the long night was a phrase for memory, for the way certain evenings stay with you long after they have passed. Walpurgis Night carries this memory, a warmth that lingers, a glow that returns, a moment that becomes a quiet companion in the days that follow. It is a night that stays. Chapter 6 Cultural Miniatures. Across Europe, Walpurgis Night has long been a moment of quiet gathering, soft rituals and gentle gestures. These cultural miniatures are not grand festivals, but small, lived moments, ways in which people have met the turning of the season with presence. Let us open these scenes one by one. 6.1 Germany, the hillside glow. In Germany, Walpurgis Night is felt on hillsides and open fields, where the last light of April meets the first breath of May. People gather on gentle slopes, carrying small bundles of wood, sharing warm drinks, waiting for the dusk to deepen. The fire rises slowly, not as a spectacle, but as a quiet companion. Its glow touches the early spring grass, the budding branches, the faces of those who stand in a loose circle, watching the night open. It is a moment when the land feels soft, as if exhaling after a long winter. 6.2 Sweden, the coastal wind. Along the Swedish coast, Walpurgis Night carries the scent of cold water and the clarity of northern air. People walk toward the shoreline, wrapped in light jackets, their steps steady, their breath visible in the cool evening. The fire is lit near the water's edge, its reflection trembling on the darkening surface. Voices rise softly, songs, laughter, quiet conversations carried by the wind. The night feels wide here, as if the horizon itself were opening a path toward spring. 6.3 Czech Republic. The village edge. In the Czech lands, Walpurgis Night unfolds on the edges of villages, places where fields begin, where paths widen, where the world feels both familiar and open. A wooden figure, symbolic and simple, is placed near the fire, a gesture of letting go, of releasing the heaviness of the cold months. Children run in small circles, their voices bright, their steps light on the soft earth. Adults stand nearby, hands warmed by the flames, faces softened by the glow. The night carries a sense of renewal, quiet, steady, shared. 6.4 Finland. The forest clearing. In Finland, Walpurgis Night is felt in forest clearings, where the ground is still cool and the trees hold the last traces of winter. People gather around small fires, their silhouettes framed by tall pines and birches. The air is crisp, yet touched by the promise of warmer days. Voices are low, movements unhurried. The fire crackles softly, sending sparks upward into the deepening blue. It is a night that feels both ancient and close, a night that carries the quiet strength of the northern spring. 6.5 Ireland, the field at dusk. In Ireland, Walpurgis Night is not named as such, yet the gesture exists. A gathering at dusk, a fire lit up on open ground, a moment of standing between seasons. People walk to a nearby field, the grass damp with evening, the sky white and shifting from gold to grey to blue. The fire is small but steady. It casts long shadows across the uneven earth, touching stones, hedgerows, and the quiet faces of those who stand nearby. The night feels gentle here, a soft meeting of land and sky, of warmth and coolness, of memory and beginning. 6.6 A shared European gesture. Though the landscape differ, the gesture is the same. People step outside. They look toward the horizon. They let the evening widen. Walpurgis Night is not a spectacle. It is a presence. A quiet, shared breath across a continent. A moment of warmth, of threshold, of early spring clarity. A night that opens. Chapter 7 Meditation. The Night of the Threshold. Perhaps a quiet space opens within you when you think of Walpurgis Night. A space that widens gently, like dusk unfolding across a soft spring landscape. Let us step into this moment. Imagine standing at the edge of the evening. The air is cool, yet touched by the first warmth that rises from the ground after winter's long breath. The horizon stretches before you, a line of soft gold, a breath of distance, a quiet invitation. The light is not bright, not fading, but lingering, as if the day were waiting for you to arrive. Perhaps you feel a small widening within yourself, a sense of space, of calm, of gentle readiness. This is the horizon of Walpurgis Night, a horizon that opens not outward alone, but inward. A small fire rises before you, not loud, not fierce, but steady. Its glow touches the ground, the early spring grass, the stones arranged in a circle by hands that came before you. The fire carries warmth but not heat, movement but not urgency. It is a fire that gathers, that softens, that opens a quiet space around itself. Perhaps you feel its warmth on your hands, its glow on your face, its presence in the stillness of the night. This is the fire of Walpurgis Night, a fire that marks the turning of the season. The world grows quiet, birdsong softens, shadows lengthen. The air settles into a gentle balance between coolness and warmth. A stillness forms, not empty but full. It is the stillness of the threshold, a moment that holds both memory and beginning. Perhaps this stillness touches something in you, a breath, a thought, a direction you had not yet named. The stillness of this night does not ask you to decide, to act, to change. It simply invites you to be present. Breathe in and out. With each breath, the evening widens. With each breath, the fire softens. With each breath, something in you settles. The night does not press, it opens. It gives you space to arrive, to rest, to feel the world turn gently around you. Breathe in and out. The threshold becomes a place you can stand. Imagine a small glow forming within you, warm, steady, bright. Not a flame, not a spark, but a quiet light that rises from a place you cannot quite name. A Walpurgis light. A light that carries the first warmth of spring, the soft movement of the season, the gentle readiness of early May. It is a light that does not fade when the evening ends. A light that stays. A light that opens a path within you. A path of calm, of presence, of quiet beginning. Chapter 8. Thank you for stepping with me into the world of Walpurgis Night today. Perhaps this evening will stay with you, a quiet companion as you move through your day, your week, your early spring. Perhaps it will remind you that thresholds can be gentle, that beginnings can be soft, that the turning of the year does not always arrive with noise or urgency, but with a quiet shift in the air around you. Walpurgis Night stands as a sign of openness, of warmth returning, of the world loosening, of the soft courage to step into a new season. It is a night that carries both memory and possibility, a night that invites you to pause, to breathe, to feel the subtle movement of the year. As you continue your path, you may feel a small echo of this early spring threshold, a sense of space, a gentle readiness, a quiet movement toward what wishes to unfold. Perhaps you notice the way the air changes in the coming days, a little warmer, a little wider, a little more open. Perhaps you sense the first green rising, the softening of the ground, the way the world leans toward May. Walpurgis Night is not a single moment. It is a gesture of transition, of warmth, of early spring clarity. And this gesture may accompany you as you move forward. A reminder that beginnings do not need to be loud to be real. In the next episode, we will open a new word, a new early May gesture, a new movement of the season, the beginning of May. Until then, keep the warmth, the threshold, the quiet glow of this night. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. If you feel called to wander a little deeper, scripts, audio pieces, and small companion materials are available on my channels, including YouTube and Payhip. Perhaps one of them will walk a little further with you.